People, we are live. I believe we are anyway. Welcome to the Brews at 10. On my left eye, I'm your host Lefty. This is a stream and a channel all about politics and society from a left-wing point of view. Yeah, hope you're all well, hope you're brewing nicely. Thanks for choosing to kick off your weekend on the stream. Let us know how you're brewing in the chat. Flow Snake, good to see you. Early watermelons are always welcome. Oh, it's been another long week, people. It's been a busy one here on the channel. There's been a live stream every weekday this week. Videos out, exclusive content as well. Busy, busy, busy. Emma on the Truth, good to see you. Yeah, I'm pleased to see that last video's doing well. It's the first one I've had for a while that's gone into the thousands of viewers, to be honest, so thanks for everybody who's watched that and shared that around. It's one about Wesley and the Pat McFadden experience. That's a new thing on the Brews at 10. I'll be reminding you about that later on. Yeah, a few comedy clips on tonight's stream, some of which are of my own making, my own devising. And, we have Baron von Kochschlap in the chat as well. Hope you're well. Great to see you. Got 100% members at the moment. Some good news about members to come on the channel. People as well. On what might be quite a packed one tonight, because there's quite a few things going on. It's the first time this week that I've not had to put something referring to tariffs in the title of a live stream. Not that there isn't any developing news about that. I'll be perhaps touching on that. I can only fit 2 or 3 subjects in the title for the videos, unfortunately. But yeah, coming up, we've got lots to talk about. We're going to be talking about those tariffs, as well as a few things that have happened over the last couple of days that I've not had a chance to catch up with as well. So there was the one of the latest Elon Musk embarrassments, I should say, the one where he's getting trolled live and what people are saying. We'll check that out. More on Gaza as well. Once again, thanks for throwing up the watermelons. On that topic as well though, David Mensa. You know, old David Mensa. He got, well, not a grilling, but he was held to some scrutiny in an ITV interview, which was actually quite refreshing to see, to be honest, on the mainstream media. Perhaps even they are coming around, who knows. Yeah, don't get your hopes up, but we're having a look at that. There's been a council by-election in London that's produced a very interesting result as well. more on that later. Quick update on a story I featured yesterday though, people. The first and foremost, this is absolute paramount that I bring this to you. You know, hold the press. Or stop the press. The latest on that helicopter crash that was caused by an unsecured penguin. There's no updates on the status of the penguin at the moment. But here at My Left Eye, we've had a bit of a whip round in the studio and we're sensing some flowers. Just hope that'll cheer him up a bit. If you come across any updates on the status of said penguin, please do inform me in the chat or in the comments if you're watching back on a replay. That's going to take some beating. That's my headline of the year so far. Mithril, awesome to see you. And Hedy, we've got Hedy in the chat as well. Please make sure you've hit the buttons, people. And Hedy's getting the flags out there as well. Thank you very much for that, brother. Yes, Floor Snake. There aren't any updates on the status of the penguin. Oh, there's snow. There's snow updates. See what you did there. See what you were going for there. What else is there? I feel as though there are some stories I might have missed out in the preview. Of course, Youth Demand. Speaking of Palestine, there was, well, quite something at the latest protest which took place today. It also brought up some fairly recent memories for me as well personally, so we'll be taking a look at that. It gets slightly heavy, do I have to say. Yeah, but I won't give too much away on that just yet. No tangents for now. We do have a backup system for that. Phil, who will never appear on the live stream and is a mute, the producer, made me sign a form. Very complicated form about the tangents. Yes, Emma, that was great news about the penguin surviving that incident yesterday. As I said yesterday, after I'd laughed at the title of the article for some time, I immediately rushed through the article to see if the penguin survived. You know, and never mind the bloody, you know, people. People suck. What about this poor penguin? But yeah, since then, where is he? What's he up to? Status unknown. Wherever he is, or she, or they are doing, I believe it requires some sort of honour. Come on, tribute must be paid to this. One. Even just for, actually, it crashed a helicopter. Why would they give it a medal? Well, like, you know, it's a funny headline. I think it's got the merits. We've got to. This could be this penguin's 15 minutes of fame. Evening Nina Sadie. And Graham Turner jumping in the chat as well. Solidari-Tea to you. Great to see more members coming in. And whilst the chat's filling up nicely there, speaking of members, I shall cordially thank every single one of you. Some of you are live with us now, and you'll see your name on this roster. You can add your name to the list, join the Brew crew for just 99 pence. Some top quality perks for you to enjoy if you want to check them out. Should be a little button there just underneath the screen. Yeah, unfortunately, yesterday, well, sort of, the glitch with the gifted memberships sort of righted itself. Well, I won't get into that. And speaking of which, Nina Sadie, thanks a lot. We've just got to keep our fingers crossed that will go through, because, as I said, slightly repetitive technical problem, but thank you very much. We'll find out in a moment when the chat updates, and I'm going to bring the chat on the screen in just a sec as well, but I do have some other positive news. Right then people, let's be having you. Where you at in the chat? Thanks again, members. Genuinely appreciate all your support. And we've welcomed a few new members recently as well, so that brings the total up to 94. Very, very nearly there. Fingers crossed that one will go through as well. Tidy up the drop there. So it's been an on-off thing. It's really weird. It's really weird. Hey Odin, hope you're well. Now I'll have to decide where we're going to go to first. I'll kick off with one of the comedy bits. Yeah, thanks Nina Sadie. It looks like that hasn't gone through unfortunately, but you were aiming. That would have been a good shot. You're always free to say who you're aiming for before you gift. A bit of a guessing game. Yeah, and it's been happening with a few different members. Hedy, thanks a lot for the attempt there for 5. And again, it's not, yeah. Very bizarre, very peculiar. That's if these go through Hedy, the names haven't appeared underneath. Which is usually what happens. Generally we've found that when the name doesn't appear, that means it's not gone through. It's been quite a pain in the neck, to be honest. We would be on the 100, yeah. We'd be on exactly 100. all they advised is that the members who are trying to gift contact Google Help themselves, which isn't very useful when I'll be trying to sort this out. Okay, fingers crossed all will be well with that soon, but let's go over to Matt Green, let's kick things off. The first comedy clip. There's this from Matt Green.
It's been a rollercoaster week in the financial world as Donald Trump plays hokey-cokey with tariffs. Our Be Calm, Stay Cool and Now Panic correspondent, Jonathan Goodenough, has more. Yes, that's right. After announcing sweeping tariffs just last week, Trump declared that he would stay the course and that nothing would make him drop them. And what happened? He dropped them. Completely? No, he kept a 10% base level tariff for everyone, put a stupidly high tariff on China, but did pause the other tariffs for other countries. So if everyone else is now on 10%, what happened to our Brexit benefit? Just think of it like Melania's love for her husband. Never really a thing. So why did he change course? Well, the markets reacted very badly, so it's possible that he just panicked and backed down. Was that what he said? No, he said that he only paused because people were getting yippy. Yippy. What does that mean? Well, if you don't know already, I can't really explain it to you. Yippee. However, some are calling his move suspicious. How so? Well, there was a lot of market activity just before the tariffs were paused, and then of course a big market recovery, which does suggest that some people made a lot of money. That sounds like insider trading, possibly the largest and most brazen example of it in history. In fact, if any other president had done anything even slightly like that, they'd have been impeached faster than you can say tan suit. Right. Trump also seems to enjoy the effect he has on the markets, thinking of himself as some sort of brilliant conductor of the financial system. Okay? But he's actually a bit more like a dog who's grabbed the garden hose. Everyone's paying attention to him, sure, but that's more because they can't believe how much of a mess he's making. What have others in his administration said? They're saying it's tactical genius and he meant to do it all along. A bit like someone falling off a chair, then trying to style it out by shouting something funny, or someone who smashed up their own car in order to stop people stealing it. Right? They've also said that 75 countries have already approached them for trade deals, but when questioned on that, they refused to give a list. However, they did send this statement. They are the best and most beautiful countries, but you wouldn't know them because they went to another school. In Canada. I see. There's also the question of where does this leave the legal justification for these tariffs, which were brought in under emergency powers? Because can you really pause an emergency for 90 days, even if the original emergency was fake? Will the courts get involved in that? Possibly, but the Supreme Court is currently treating Trump rather nervously because they're worried he might defy them, a bit like a policeman who refuses to engage a drunken hooligan in the street because he's worried he might beat him up. Thank you, Jonathan. Next up, as it's announced that Universal are building a new theme park near Bedford, we ask, when will people bite the bullet and build a proper British theme park? Something like Queuing World, Tutting Valley, or Passive Aggressive Land.
That's Matt Green, people. I'm sure most of you are familiar with him already. If you're not, do check him out. If you can make out any of the places where he's on tour there, go and give him a watch. I might get a ticket myself. Keep my eye on that chat box, make sure it's not lagging again. Okay, people, where to go to next? Yeah, you can pause a fake emergency, that's right, Flow Snake. We're never going to back down, we're never going to back down. What was it? Like 3 days. Turns out he doesn't hold all the cards. Well, first let's try and stay positive before we have to subject ourselves to that David Mensa interview. So let's see what happened with this Musk trolling this video. Don't know if you've seen this one going around in the last couple of days. But obvious bit of background. He pretends to be one of the top gamers in the world. He's obviously lying. He's claimed to have various high rankings on live games that you play with other people all across the world. He's been called out for it on numerous times. He did use an assumed name on some of his accounts, but that was quickly found out. And it was clear that not only isn't he as high ranking as he claims to be, it's, you know, it's very below average on everything. You know, almost as though he's a complete fake and a phony. He knows about as much about gaming as he does about engineering, which is the square root of fuck all. So this has gotten out there. I assume it's been released by someone who was playing against him, and he's got the camera on. Musk, that is, with, you know, sort of like Bond villain cam. Davinia and Stu, hope you both well. Thanks for joining the stream. This is what he does all day when he says he's working hard, whether it's at Doge or Tesla or SpaceX or, you know, insert a litany of failed projects that have come and gone. What, Hyperloop, that sort of thing. I've forgotten where I was going with that. But my point basically was, all he's doing is tweeting all day and playing video games instead of running these companies. That's what I was getting at. And they certainly held no quarter while they were trolling him. Let's see what happened, people. Might give this clip a few watches, because let's play it all the way through first. Don't worry if you can't read the writing at the top, I'll go through all this. So that's a live chat during the game, obviously.
Lost connection. Connection lost.
Okay, so let's take a look again. You can make a, let's just get rid of his face. Go through some. Sorry, it's a bit clipped. This is from a TikTok. like line after line after line. You've ruined the country.
Anyone spamming the chat? Get,
Just let me, how is it possible that you can look this dumb and ugly? So yeah, look, he then he put on some music really loud, and it's his ex-girlfriend's music, which is a bit weird. Okay, he's not having a meltdown. This isn't a live meltdown. Oh no, definitely not. It's me, Ashley St. Clair. I have no other means of contacting you. Please pay your child support. Thank you, Elon. Israel killed JFK. This, you have no real friends and will die alone. But the funny, you saw a bit before this, you didn't know how you mute people in the chat, or if you just disable the chat entirely, you could sort of see him open the controls and he's faffing about a bit without having the vaguest idea of what he's doing. Even if you just pulled the average person off the street, you know, their educated guess would be probably better than his. I think he said he was ranked number 2 in the world in one of the games that he plays regularly. Trans rights. Over again. God. Of course, he's disowned his daughter, who's trans, and says that they're dead to him. He blames the what were his exact words now? The woke mind virus. Apparently, is a thing.
Lost connection.
I lost connection.
Lost.
This man in the world can't even afford a decent fibre optic connection. Okay, there you go. He does tech. He does tech, though. He certainly does. I'll try and find, you know, which servers he's on, and maybe we can get on there ourselves and do a bit of trolling live here on My Left Eye. Who knows? His computer probably crashed because he had about, you know, 50 tabs on Twitter open. Something like that while he's... He starts losing and then he'll just unplug his PC and... Oh no, what happened there? But surely the game's up now, surely the jig is up. He can't go on this pretense of being one of the world's top gamers now. The mounting pile of evidence and all that was live. That's not altered or doctored. That was the bare naked truth. What an appalling liar he is. He really is. He's a hype merchant. That's what he sells hype. He's selling you a future that he can't give you, or he's trying to sell you a future that he can't give you. Even the greatest things that have been achieved by the companies that he's owned have not come from him. They've come from the engineers whose intellectual property and ideas and whatnot he's used nefarious means to claim the rights to coming up with and creating himself. Yes, Mithril. Yeah, as you're saying, they're definitely not a tech genius. Far from it. Far from it. You could, you know, could lock him in a room with various tools and materials. He probably wouldn't even be able to come up with a very basic birdhouse or whatever. Elon, here's all the parts. Build us a two-stroke engine. Or whatever. He's like, oh no, I only do electric cars. It's like, okay, well, okay, let's watch you build an electric car. Mr. I build electric cars. So we'll wait. Just, you know, we can get you a couple of people. Help you out. This guy's objective is to move humanity to a planet that will 100% of the time be trying to kill us. Then if by chance everybody does survive and get there, they'll have to live out the remainder of their lives under the authoritarian leadance and guidance of someone who gets his ass whooped by medium-level gamers. And probably couldn't engineer his way out of a wet paper bag. So, I'll leave the dunking there for now. And I guess that's a good enough excuse to call that another episode of Trump and Musk's batshit crazy corner.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Yes! We will build a great wall along the southern border.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
That is one big pile of shit.
More escapades to come, sure, unfortunately. RC, very warm welcome to you. Yeah, just having a bit of a chill stream here to kick off the weekend, catching up on a few bits. Mithril, that's probably a preferred way of observing Mars, definitely. You wouldn't get me up there, over there. No chance. It's just a ridiculous idea as well. How about we conserve and protect this planet? It's not just trash one and move on. then hope it's habitable. It's ludicrous. It's a ludicrous idea. I won't get into that though, that's more of a sciencey thing. There are other YouTubers who go into a lot better detail than me about that sort of thing. Okay, let's move on. We've got to get okay, might as well get this one over with. David Mensa, oh fuck. Okay, David fucking Mensa. To be fair though, Mark Austin, as far as mainstream media goes, does pretty good accounting.
Well, I'm joined now by the Israeli government spokesperson, David Mensa. Thanks for being with us. So let's just talk about this, because there's so much wrong, so much disputed here. Why do you not allow an independent investigation into this?
Good evening, Mark.
Very quickly, just two very quick points. First of all, this is about the attack on the ambulance convoy that's going to start off the interview that we spoke about a few times this week on the channel. Obviously, illegally attacked by the IDF. Israel denied that until witness testimony and video evidence clearly showed the contrary. So that's what they're going to kick off with. Second point, very quickly, those of you who are familiar with David Mensa will know the sort of things that are about to come, but if you're not, just a very quick reminder that everything that comes out of his mouth is false. And I don't mean he tells a few lies here and there, or the interview responses are sprinkled. We're talking about practically every word. And he really is the lowest as far as Israel's spokes go, for those of you who don't know.
Good to be with you. Let me just start off by saying that Hamas has a long record of misusing ambulances. They don't...
The question put to him was why they're trying to block an independent investigation to that incident, which I just told you about. Straight away, Hamas. I'll just talk about something else. Blame Hamas. It's very formulaic. Whoever's responding on behalf of Israel.
Just hijack ambulances. They actually hijack the very idea of the emergency services and also humanitarian aid. It's not the first time.
I just want to look. I accept what you're saying. Let's just concentrate, if we can, on this whole idea of an independent investigation, because your initial story has fallen apart once. It's been shown to be misleading. So I just wonder, why no independent investigation? I know the IDF are investigating, but why no independent investigation? What are you afraid of?
Yeah, David, what are you afraid of? You know, we all know what they're afraid of. They've been caught in another lie. They lie and they lie and they lie.
Israel's not afraid of anything. It's not the first time that Hamas has used ambulances to smuggle terrorists. It's a matter of public record. It's been confirmed.
Please send your Prime Minister here so that he can be arrested. If you're not afraid of anything, send him to France. Why don't you do that if you're not afraid of anything? Why would that be that you wouldn't do that? I wonder.
By Hamas themselves, when we've captured them, who told the world that they use ambulances to transport their own terrorists. It's been confirmed repeatedly over the years, not only by Israeli sources.
Answer the question. What do you have to hide? Now he's trying to immediately put out what he thinks is some sort of valid excuse that Hamas apparently have precedence for this, even if that were the case, which it isn't, because we've heard them so many times try to say that in response to attacks on schools, hospitals, and the like. It just doesn't wash. Yeah, lies on top of lies on top of lies. But even if that were the case, it doesn't legally give you the excuse. It's, again, a war crime. There's a bit coming up, actually, now. How can I best describe it? In making accusations against Hamas, in the classic narcissistic sense of accusing others of what they're guilty and culpable of, he accidentally confesses that they have actually been breaking the law. We'll get to that in a bit.
But by Gaza's ambulance drivers themselves, by Gaza's hospital directors, in a statement by President Mahmoud Abbas, no less, by Egyptian news investigators, and
You
by
can
Hamas.
see the footage clearly. The ambulance lights are on, which is what Israel said wasn't the case, and they said it was suspicious.
There were 6 Hamas fighters in these ambulances.
So our investigation is taking place right now. It's going to be very thorough. It will be coming out very, very shortly. We have nothing to hide whatsoever.
Yeah, we just scooped up 6 bodies because there's plenty lying around the place there, and put them there, and then we said that that was them, and we said, you know, we're investigating ourselves. And so usually when you get a politician in these sort of circumstances where investigations are concerned, even with low-level stuff, nowhere near the kind of atrocities that they're accused of in this case. But the general practice from politicians, you'll generally find that they say they're going to wait until the findings of the report. You see that happen in political interviews so many times. You know, they put over the coals by whatever scandal it is, and the way of buying themselves more time is to just repeat that, well, you're going to have to wait and see what the findings of the XYZ report are, and or we're awaiting recommendations of the XYZ report, that sort of thing. But no, even whilst we're talking about something that's happened just days ago, he's happy to reveal a conclusion. Of course, if Israel are allowed to mark their own homework, which again they're allowed to do in this case, it will be the exact opposite of an investigation. The conclusion, or story that is, that they want to be found, that'll happen at the beginning of the process, not at the end of the process. There won't be collection of evidence and analysis and the taking of statements and so on and so forth. It will start from the back, and then how can we fabricate the circumstances with probably staged, air quotes, evidence, pictures, that sort of thing. We've seen it before, like again in the hospitals, and then they'll say, oh, this is what happened, because they think you're stupid, they think I'm stupid, they think Mark Austin is stupid, but he seems somewhat resilient. Perhaps even he's becoming aware of just how cretinous they are, especially the likes of David Benser.
And the thorough investigation, the results of which should come out very, very shortly. But whatever happens, let's
can I just
remember...
ask you another particular question? Do you have evidence...
So, well, he's going to repeat the question now, I think.
...that they identified them as Hamas before they opened fire or after they opened fire?
So again, he's giving them the benefit of the doubt. But then there's other pertinent questions about the timing of the identification, which is obviously very crucial in this part, because then you get into areas such as were they being deliberately followed? Were they being tracked? Or was this just a random coming together of IDF and an actual ambulance?
I will answer that question, but I must tell you, firstly, that emergency vehicles should be used to save lives.
Yeah.
Hamas has turned them into getaway cars for killers. While our
But that
soldiers
doesn't mean
were...
you can. That doesn't mean you can shoot at.
Sorry about the sound quality when Mensa's replying as well. That's on the original clip. It's going to be echoey. He's also, you know, shouting quite profoundly. The only way that he can try and make himself sound serious again is to give phony outrage about the situation, having conducted an attack themselves, again, go on to try and act like the victims in this overall scenario. But he does get himself very worked up, foaming at the mouth, literally. And yeah, you'll see the warning signs of that when his nostrils start to flare up, which enhances already porcine features.
Every ambulance. I'm just trying to get to the heart of this
Yes, of course.
question. You said you'd answer it. Were they
I'm happy to
identified as Hamas, these 6 Hamas you've identified? Were they identified before these troops opened fire or after?
So that's why Hamas themselves use ambulances to hide their identity.
Right.
While
So it
our
was after.
soldiers...
So
He's having a completely different conversation at this point. David Mensa is not in this interview. He's in a completely different one. He's perhaps reading the questions off of a teleprompter that's gone wrong, perhaps, because his earpiece is broken. You know what is happening. Mark Austin is asking questions, and he's just completely going off on one. Because that's the narrative.
it was after.
No, while our soldiers stake out Hamas terror squads, Hamas hides behind civilians and then cries foul when terrorists are targeted. Let me be clear.
Were they identified before or after David? Before, it's one or the other. It's purely binary in this case. It can only be one or the other. It's not a sort of loaded question that tries to back you into thinking there's only 2 options when there aren't. It's a straight up question about the timeline of the events.
But
This incident happened.
Just let's
incident
be clear
happened
on
in a
this
war
one.
zone
Let's
during
just be
combat
clear on this
against a
question.
group that
Were they
uses human
identified
shields as a
before?
policy.
Were they
Among
identified
those
before
killed-
or after?
Among those killed were 6 Hamas terrorists. That is not speculation. It is confirmation. The IDF is
That's not true.
investigating the incident in Rafah thoroughly, transparently, and in real time.
That's not
Hamas,
true.
on the other hand, investigates nothing, admits nothing, and abuses everything.
Right, but
no army in the world does.
But again, they think that they're the exception to the rule. Even if such and such happened before, that does not give you the right to attack emergency vehicles. No one has that right. Without exception. But there's always but we're different. Because we've got more crocodile tears. We're the victims, you know. Oh, they really are the pits of the fucking world.
More to avoid civilian casualties than the IDF. And
Right,
no
some other questions.
terror
Why
group
did
exploits
they
civilians more than Hamas?
Right, why did they hide the, I mean, there are so many questions here. Why did they hide the bodies? Why did they try to hide the ambulances? These are all questions, by the way, that many
you won't get any
international
answers,
organisations,
Mark.
It's not Hamas I'm echoing here. It's the UN Secretary General, it's the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, the head of the UN Humanitarian Affairs.
Yeah, this isn't just some rumour that's going around a tanning salon or something like that. These are coming from the highest authorities in the world. James, thanks for the gifted membership, or the attempt at the gifted membership, I should say. Excuse me. Yeah, it doesn't look like that's gone through. Bit of a niggling problem. But good to see you on the stream, and thanks for the attempted gift. Once again, we would have gone over 100 as well if it wasn't for this ongoing problem. Let's crack on, there's a bit more to get through. I hope I can tolerate all of this.
Mayor's office, Tom Fletcher, it's the Red Cross, numerous governments, all saying it's unacceptable, all calling for an independent inquiry. So why not?
Mark, Israel doesn't fear the truth. That's why we are investigating this incident extremely thoroughly. Can Hamas say the same? Hamas violates every principle of international law. They hide it.
When have they allegedly attacked any ambulances, David? Or what? They haven't. Just like they didn't do all of the slew of things that you said that they did, all of that list of atrocities.
In hospitals, in mosques, in schools, and then they blame us when war crimes blow up in their own faces.
Then have an independent investigation. Have an independent that can investigate Hamas as well. Let's compare. You know, let's tally up, shall we? And we'll see who the real culprits are.
So I can tell you again that the IDF soldiers opened fire from a distance at vehicles that were moving suspiciously in their direction. Among the dead were 6 Hamas terrorists, Mark. What were Hamas terrorists doing in an ambulance convoy?
So they were identified as Hamas terrorists after the event. Another question I have.
Well, let me answer that question, because that will be dealt with in the results of the investigation, which will be out shortly. This incident was reported in real time to UN officials. The IDF is conducting that investigation into...
Shortly. Well, it happened a few days ago. Normally, people are pretty thorough, but if you're being very thorough, then you're not going to rush to conclusions, are you? Unless you've just made the whole thing up, of course. And it's going to be some crap that was scrawled on the back of a napkin, believe me. It's not going to be a page-turner of a read, this report.
The circumstances of this incident, which took place a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately, the Hamas terror organization systematically violates international law. They started this war by taking over civilian facilities.
And there it was. A hidden confession.
International law. Conducting that investigation into the circumstances of this incident, which took place a couple of weeks ago. But unfortunately, the Hamas terror organization systematically violates international law. They started this war by taking over civilian facilities and infrastructure.
Oh. Hamas became a thing in what? The late 80s. This has been going on since the late 40s. You've skipped out 40 years of occupation and genocide there, David, for a start. That's where it started, if you want to talk about the start. If you want to talk about the start of this escalation, then that's because of a pushback from resistance forces, which is what they are, part of a political movement. That's the truth of it.
Including hospitals, schools and mosques.
Right, you've made that point.
They are cruelly exploiting and placing their own civilian population
Just one
at
other,
risk.
I'm just trying to get through these questions. One other specific question on this incident. The claim is that it was in a combat zone. The Israeli...
What it all boils down to is, if they didn't want to be attacked so much, then they shouldn't have pushed back against our occupation. And atrocity should be a lesson to them. You know, that's the way that they see it. They see it as Palestine being taught a lesson, because how dare they resist the occupation? The very fact that these people have tried to stand up to international war criminals, they think is the only excuse that they need to do whatever they want, and they'll get carte blanche legally or in terms of accountability. That is literally what they think. That is what is indoctrinated. I guess there's no better way of putting it where Zionism's concerned, and people, illegal occupiers, raise their families into this mindset in occupied Palestine. And that's awful. And whilst people all across the world, including, as of course here on my left eye, are doing as much as we can to resist this, it goes a lot further. I'll just make a very quick point about this before I crack on with the interview. At the risk of setting off the tangent alert system, I just want to point out that when these extremist ideologies are so prevalent in populations, this is just a sociological point and observation. It's not like it's not like Lord of the Rings rules. You know, if we take out, by take out I mean arrest Benjamin Netanyahu or whatever and his cabinet. That's it. The concept of Zionism will be wiped away from the planet, and it's similar to Germany. Then at the end of the Second World War, there was still a lot of far-right fascists amongst the population, because obviously they'd been in charge of the country since the early 30s, so a lot of people were indoctrinated there, and it was a great task to sort of de-fascistify, if you want, un-Nazify Germany at the time, and the same is going to be true for Zionism. So that is why this fight is going to go on for a while, even if justice does come for the people at the top, and then that's going to be another thing to solve in itself.
Israelis claim it was in a combat zone, when our own data investigation shows that that was not the case. Can you just clear that one up?
So there's nothing I'm going to say that is going to prejudice this investigation. The results will come out shortly. It's a thorough...
Oh, well, there you go. This is actually the first time I've watched this the whole way through. I've seen a couple of little snippets of it. Just wanted to give my reaction to you. So he did come out with the classic response about waiting for the result of the report when it suits him, but then when he has to ignore the question, he can talk about the results of the investigation before it's even come out. How very bloody convenient, David.
Investigation by the IDF.
But it's the military investigating the military, isn't it?
No, it's the independent
does that really
arm.
wash with...
It's the same that Britain would do if they were investigating something which the British armed forces were accused of doing. We are fighting in a complex war zone. Hamas hide amongst civilians. They hide amongst ambulances. This is not my words. These are the words of Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian leader themselves.
Isn't there a pattern here that your government does not welcome outside scrutiny, hence no independent investigation?
The pattern here is Hamas, which started this war, which won't release our hostages.
Yes, the pattern here is, I could ask you what day it is and you'd still answer Hamas. Doesn't matter what he puts to you about why you're dodging investigations and so on and so forth. The first word that comes out of your mouth is always because Hamas. Again, as though their very existence gives you every right to commit the atrocities that you are. And I personally am horrified with their actions, as well as insulted by their expectation that we'll believe them in equal measure. I really am. That's what really gets me about this. Even cartoon villains cackle and laugh and describe their true intentions, you know, film villains, Bond villains, whatever you want to, you know. They don't play the victim as their excuse, like you're doing, and expect people to absorb such lies for decades.
Which won't surrender, which are continuing to subject their own people to act as human shields. We, on the other hand, Israel, are trying our hardest to move civilians out of harm's way in an extremely...
I've seen several videos of the IDF using Palestinian children as human shields.
Let's just have a look.
Several
UK MPs travelling to witness firsthand the situation in the West Bank refused permission to enter Israel. Journalists who want to go into Gaza to report the situation there refused permission into Gaza. Israel does not want to be scrutinised.
This is the only free democracy with press freedom in hundreds of miles in any direction. When you're talking about those members...
No, you are clearly blocking journalists. And again, even if your lie was true, everyone else is doing it excuse doesn't wash well either.
As a parliament, Israel has laws. We are run by laws.
But what is the law?
Come into our country,
what is the law that prevents two MPs from a friendly democracy coming to see what's going on in Israel? What's the law that prevents that?
I will tell you. I will share that with you. These individuals were working against our state and our citizens because they are promoting calls for its boycott. And they accuse this country with false allegations.
But hang on a second, that's a political... I mean, one had organised a letter calling for a ban on exports from West Bank settlements. Another had been very critical of the blocking of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Are these not legitimate political positions in a democracy?
The legitimate position would be for these two members of parliament to contact the Israeli embassy in London to say that is the purpose of their visit.
Well,
that
the British
is normal
government
protocol. That is normal.
Okay.
Listen to me, Mark. There's no point interrupting me. Otherwise, you know, what's the point of this interview?
Well, we're tight for time.
This is an interview with me. Let me give you the answers. Yeah, so on Saturday, in accordance with the law, these two members of parliament were denied entry into Israel by our Minister of the Interior. This is precisely the same actions that UK has done by stopping our members of parliament visiting the UK. These individuals had accused Israel of false crimes, were actively involved in promoting sanctions against our people, and that is why it is against our law to allow people into the country that wish to boycott this country, because boycotting this country essentially means that you do not wish Israel to exist.
But they were travelling
my friends.
Well, what would be wrong with that? For a start, that's pathetic. That's pathetic. And also, I don't think he knows how boycotts work, because you don't boycott a country by visiting it either.
They say they were travelling in good faith.
You, Mark, but Israel does exist.
I'm just going to tell you what they say.
And we will defend ourselves. We will always defend ourselves. We will defend our
two Labour
families.
MPs.
We will grow this country. We will...
Yeah, Alwyn, welcome to the chat as well. He's from the UK. In fact, he used to be involved with Labour Friends of Israel, of course, and now he's discussing how 3 Labour MPs were refused entry to the country because of this petty bullshit blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that he'd love to accuse them of being part of Hamas, but with them being in the current government, even he knows that he won't get away with that one. But I'm sure he'd love a try. The prick.
Succeed and will be a light unto the nations, because this country is a democracy and we will defend our values. And
Let
just
me
because
just-
you
It's
may
not a
have,
democracy.
succumbed
It's
to
not a
this
democracy.
Islamist
Don't be
ideology,
so- don't-
we
don't-
in
God, he
Israel
just said
have
woke.
not.
That's
We
absolute
have not.
nonsense.
He said woke. If you get stuck in a panic, just shout woke. Just shout woke. This. Oh God, what is it? Oh, it's woke. That's what it. That's the thing that you're not supposed to like now, isn't it? Woke stuff. Woke Islamist. What's that even supposed to mean? Woke Islamist. Fucking hell. He's trying to make up subgenres on the spot now. Are you a Muslim? No, fuck off. I'm a woke Islamist. Like, come on. Let's talk distinction. It's almost like he's making it up as he goes along. Really couldn't believe that. That was pretty telling, you do have to say.
Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh? That's what I'm on about.
That is nonsense. I'm asking you a question. Why
We
don't
have
we
not.
be,
We will
why don't
defend
we
this
be
country
grown up
by
about
the
this?
rule of
I'll
law.
ask the questions,
And
you
these
answer them.
two members of parliament chose not to
He's in the shouting. He's in the just shouting and shouting and shouting stage now.
exercise their right under Israeli law to petition our court
Keep
to
your eye on those
reconsider, which
nostrils.
is
They're
more
gonna
than the right
triple in
which was given
size.
to our members of parliament when they tried to visit the UK but were denied entry. They weren't allowed to appeal it. They were offered hotel accommodation by the Israeli taxpayer, which they declined. In addition, the cost of their flight back to the UK was covered.
Not 2 minutes ago, he said, no, you're not allowed into the country because we think that you're going to conduct illegal activity. But we'd already prepared accommodation for you, by the way, even though we make your mind up. Make your mind up. And
by the state of Israel. So the UK is an ally, a very important ally. We have many shared values, but this visit was intended to provoke anti-Israel activity, and no self-respecting country would allow those sorts of people to visit this.
if you showed this to like a fucking 8-year-old, they'd be like, you know, even they'd know. They'd say the shouty man talks a lot of bollocks, doesn't he? And then obviously they'd get told off for saying bollocks. Or perhaps might let him off in this case, because it's just that true. But it's just so obvious to everybody. Yeah. Good question, James. I don't know who this is supposed to convince. It's not convincing me. It's not convincing Mark Austin there. Every time he comes on, he just digs himself further and further into a hole. The fact that he still gets on TV is purely just because of his position as an official spokes. They have to have the official spokes on if they can. And that's the only reason he keeps appearing on our screens.
Country.
They deny that it was anyway intended to be provocative. Let me ask you a last question. The Secretary General of the UN, Guterres, has just been talking at the UN. He said Gaza is a killing field. The UN capacity to deliver aid in Gaza has been strangled. Israel is not fulfilling its unequivocal obligations as the occupying power under international law. Just finally, your reaction to that.
So it's Hamas that are stealing the aid. 1.8 million tons of aid have gone into Gaza, enough to fill Wembley Stadium 80 times.
Change the fucking record, man. Really. Seriously. Change the fucking record. Even look, where I've paused it there. That was the point where even mainstream media came to realise. Look at Mark Austin's face there. Look at Mark Austin's face. He's got the look of a teacher receiving a very poor excuse for not having some homework handed in or coursework or whatever. Just pure disbelief. He's got the look of, you know, your boss the umpteenth time. You've been late because, I don't know, you just forgot you were going to work. Or whatever. But he's just not buying it, and I'm not buying it. And I think Mark's... yeah, it is Mark. I think his expression speaks for us all there. Just enhance. Zoom and enhance. Yeah, that look. That's the look. Tell your dad why you were home 3 hours late and you stink of WKD. That's the look. Just very quickly on the truth about those circumstances. Of course, there's, again, a multitude of evidence, a bounty of evidence, a plethora of mounting evidence that Israel have blocked aid going into Gaza. The only way the narcissist can respond again is to mirror the accusations. And I've seen some disturbing footage myself, including the attack on the flour trucks, which I think one or two of you mentioned in the chat whilst we're going through that clip. That's one of the more famous ones. The World Central Kitchen as well, where aid workers from the UK were deliberately targeted and attacked, and seen the aerial footage of that, which is, again, very disturbing. I've never come across a single shred of evidence that what Mens is saying is true. And simply put, they can't... the aid hasn't been stolen by Hamas because it hasn't gotten into Palestine. So they can't be stealing it from the civilian population because it isn't there in the first place, David. And we know that because the queues of trucks go for miles. Sometimes only 20 trucks get in to feed a population of 2 million. And this is a nation that's run out of bread, is running out of ovens. And people, families, have to share a few cups of water a day. That's if they get that, you know. There's nothing to steal. And they know that if they did that, they'd absolutely lose support from the population as well. There's so many reasons why that's bullshit, but that's the main one, because it's not getting in the first place. He can get as loud as he wants, but it's not convincing me, people.
Not just the grass, but to the brim. And in 42 days during the ceasefire, there were 25,000 aid trucks which went into Gaza. There's no shortage of food in Gaza. The only ones truly starving are our hostages. Why do I say that? Because that's what they looked like. They looked like concentration camp victims when they were finally released. They've been chained, they've been hidden.
He had to go there, didn't he? He had to go that again. It's just so shameful. It's so shameful that they'd use that historical atrocity of the Holocaust to try and garner sympathy when we've seen prisoners being released from Israeli prisoners who do look as he described. Gaunt, pale, starved, they've been tortured. And then we see Hamas releasing hostages who look happy and healthy and have thanked their captors and have said that they were well fed, they ate the same food, they were allowed to practice their religion. These kind of things. I didn't see anyone coming back from Israeli prison lighter, heavier than they went in with a gift bag, you know.
They've been tortured in Hamas tunnels. So let's be clear, no one in Hamas is hungry. And when they released our emaciated hostages, they looked in the most appalling state. So our decision to halt aid entry into Gaza is consistent with international law. I'll tell you which article specifically. It's Article 23.
Many people are calling it collective punishment.
So let me give you.
It is, and you'll just have to also note down that other confession there. They're breaking Article 23, people. They just confess to that. It's opposites day, it's reverse mode. Every accusation is a confession.
The practicalities of the law, not what many people say on Twitter or whatever. Article 23 of the 4th Geneva Convention very clearly states that a country is not required to allow aid if it will be diverted to enemy combatants, despite...
You are illegally occupying the country, sir. And by the way, that does give them the right to resist and defend themselves within any means before you start to ask about condemning Hamas and bring up October the 7th and whatnot yet again. But that's not valid legally. It's not happening for a start, but even if it was purely based on geographical location, again, it's not your country, so you, yeah, it's not valid.
Allowing large-scale aid transfers, Israel and international bodies, including the UN themselves.
But under international law, it is your obligation to look after a civilian population.
Not if the aid is being diverted to the terrorist organization.
That is absolutely
and the UN,
clear.
No, the UN have actually...
On the contrary, David, that is all the more reason. Because if they weren't receiving it because it's being stolen by, in this case, Hamas, then you'd have to make even further efforts to make sure that they're fed, because, as Mark just pointed out to you, it is your legal obligation to look after the population that you're occupying. So while that might be a logistical problem, even if it was true, which it isn't, of course, then it's not Hamas's problem, it's your problem, because you have that obligation. No ifs, no buts. Legal obligation means exactly that.
Documented Hamas's systematic theft and weaponization of humanitarian supplies. So given that aid has been used to sustain Hamas's military operation, including actually the October the 7th massacre and the ongoing hostilities, Israel is under no legal obligation whatsoever to continue these transfers. If we want to open the border...
He knows about as much about the law as he does about being subtle, quiet and telling the truth during interviews, evidently. Just complete bullshit. It's claptrap. It's absolute poppycock. And I've never heard the likes of this utter flim-flam. I mean, who is this person? What sort of a people do they think we are? A bit Churchill there. But of course it all started because of people like Churchill, the Balfour Declaration and whatnot. Politics Clive, nice to see you in the chat. Yeah, good point there as well, Flo. You don't really have to go down too many strenuous investigative paths to find out the truth in international law. Especially what you're supposed to be quoting the Geneva Convention in that example.
They should release our hostages and lay down their arms.
They offered to release your hostages and you turned them down on several occasions.
Just a final point then.
This war is over.
What is the incentive for Hamas to release the hostages. It is the only bargaining power they have now. You're bombing again in Gaza. What is the incentive?
He's got a point. If you're going to keep bombing and sniping on a daily basis, whether they've got the hostages or not, then where is the incentive? There is none. Because it's lunacy. It's as sick as it is crazy.
For them to release the hostages in the current circumstances?
Hamas are a terrorist organization, and this is a democracy led by a prime minister which literally wrote the book on counter-terrorism. Our prime minister is a world expert on counter-terrorism.
He's Polish. Your prime minister's Polish.
Right. So you will excuse me if perhaps bowing to the knowledge of our government when we say that this war will be over when Hamas, who instituted the worst day of Jew killing since the Holocaust, are
Drum roll, please.
Destroyed, their governing and military capability eviscerated, all of our hostages...
He couldn't get through that without mentioning October the 7th, even if he didn't mention the date, of course. What to say about that? Where to start on Benjamin Netanyahu, who's not only an international war criminal but also domestically corrupt and has been for some time. Even the population in Israel itself are calling for him to step down, not just over the extended hostage situation. And need I remind viewers, I brought this example up a few times, but always worth a mention. Hamas even offered to return some of the hostages for nothing in return. I'm not sure if that was based on medical grounds, but Israel refused. They didn't want anything in return, and Israel refused. Now, I can only think that it was on medical grounds, and then Israel thought they could try and use this as propaganda. But they don't care about their own citizens. They don't care about the hostages. Of course they don't. They're just pawns to these people. They don't mind letting a few citizens go if it'll help to strengthen or try and enhance the propagandist rhetoric. Heaven forfend. So let's say if a certain number of hostages were offered for nothing in return and Israel turned them down, then they can add that number to the list of people who died in captivity and try and say that it's Hamas's fault. We should add a membership for every time you said Hamas during this. But there you go.
Released. And finally, that Gaza does not become a threat to Israel. And people that care about Gazans should want Hamas to leave the Strip so that a better future can begin for all of the people in this region.
So much to talk about. David Menzer, thank you for coming on.
Oh, well, that was something. I'm surprised I managed to keep my calm there. It's been a long week, though. Yeah. He really is some piece of work, this bastard, isn't he? He really is. The sooner he's gone, the better as well, as Netanyahu, as far as I'm concerned. Let's see what he's saying about this in the chat. Yeah, he's talking absolute bilge. We've got a doctor in the house as well. Doc Davies, great to see you. He is a braggart. You're quite right. He just gets worse every time I see him. So yeah, I don't know if you noticed that interview. Of course, it would be very, very interesting as well, to have been a fly on the wall with Netanyahu's recent visit to the States. Again, very disappointed he wasn't arrested, but he did step foot in Hungary, which is a signatory to the ICC. He should have been arrested there. He was also over the international airspace of Italy and France, who are signatories as well. Can't keep giving him a free pass, but it looks like at least some elements of the mainstream media are starting to turn around and ask more pertinent questions. That was better. That was better from Mark Austin, but no real pressure on the follow-up. No, hang on, you know, I'm not letting you just go off and talk about something else, or clearly basically correct anything that's clearly untrue, which you'd expect from top-level journalists. Instead of just, if you've got so many questions that you need to ask, there's no point in just reeling through them and letting him lie after lie, because you're not really going to get to the bottom of the truth there, are you? You've really got to hold him to account for each and every question that you put to him. As soon as it becomes apparent that he's lying or acting as though he's having a completely different conversation in the first place. Yeah, Channel 4's usually the best out of the mainstream for pushback. That's true. Just going to bring the background music back in. Bit low key. Oh, so that really was something. I'm just going to take a quick moment, people, to readjust, and then we'll move on. That was very trigger alerty. That was a very trigger alerty interview. Sorry to disappoint anyone who thought I might set off the tangent alert system. Yeah, people, just give me one quick minute or two and I'll be right back. Make sure you've hit the buttons. You're listening to the Brews at 10 on my left eye. Okay, people, appreciate the patience there. Just need a quick comfort break. I've got back, I've just noticed, I don't know if you can see the moon from out your windows this evening. I can see it from here, and it's looking quite glorious tonight if you're lucky enough. Quite enchanting. Sorry to go off course. Where were we? Yes, politics. So I'm still going to be sticking with the subjects of Gaza just for this next clip. Surrounds demonstration protest. Obviously in support of Palestine and criticising the UK's complicity and involvement in those atrocities. But it did get a little heated. It did get a bit frisky, as we're going to see. First of all, a lorry, or a wagon if you prefer, which was behind the protesters, started to well, basically ram into them from behind at slow speed, pushing them along, and then a random motorcyclist started to assault one or two members on the protest as well. So this is Youth Demand, who I'm actually a supporter of. I've been arrested with Youth Demand, actually. That's going to be perhaps coming up in those exclusive members vids. But that's another story. But it's also reminiscent of things that I've seen on JSO, marches and protests as well, so I'll get into that after we've seen the clip. Just before I put this up, I want to say how great it is to see how resilient that they were. Even right at the end of the clip with everything going on, you'll notice that they're still singing and chanting, undeterred, as always. Right, so check this out, people. Where was it again? I will get back to you. Let's see the video first.
I'm trying to work. Fuck off! I'm trying to work. I'm trying to work.
Well, that certainly was a hot minute, wasn't it? Let's go back and just analyse that again, so you can see half a dozen or so people in the road. This is what looks like a sort of a slow march formation, as it were, and you've got the lorry there. Now, I've actually been on slow marches myself. I've been on media for slow marches as well, where I've seen similar situations. It's pretty harrowing. There's actually one particular member of JSO from in this region where I'm broadcasting from, and he seems to be a magnet for it for some reason. He's quite tall. I've seen him victim to such road rage, as it were, on a few occasions. Fortunately, he wasn't badly injured, but yeah, this really is dangerous. It really is dangerous, and you can hear someone giving out to the driver there as he starts to push forward. All it takes is one little slip, but they are being very brave there. Of course, I should point out that, as with JSO, everybody who takes part in these kind of actions is trained in how to respond in these situations, and they've given a very good accounting of themselves in this example, you've got to say. So I don't know if you noticed, it was a police officer came over and has opened the door to the lorry whilst these ladies are shouting at the driver. But there were 2 or 3 particularly resilient protesters there. In fact, one of them only left and came back for a brief second because someone was trying to drag him away. And then you see the cyclist come in and think he slapped somebody's phone out of the hands first, but I think he shoved her over, actually. Does he shove her over? Yeah, so it's somewhat, there's, let's just go back again. So you've got the lady in the red jumper. I think the lady to her left is in a green jumper, and then it's someone over to the right of the lady in the red who gets shoved past her into the floor. So, well, that's assault. Yeah. It was the lad who was facing us there, who's just on the right of the screen there now, who got shoved over. Apologies, don't know his name, but right in front of the police as well. And this has happened again on JSO marches. You see this sort of thing, and it's bang out of order. People think that they've got the right to do that, which they actually don't. And on one occasion that I can remember specifically, it happened to a graphic designer, Sam, who's actually in prison himself at the moment. He got straight back up, but that happened right in front of the police, and then the guy was arrested.
I'm trying to work. Fuck off! I'm trying to work. I'm trying to work.
And I'll tell you, if I had a penny for every time I heard the "I'm trying to get to work" line, I could end world hunger tomorrow, definitely, maybe a couple of times over. Thanks for throwing up the Palestine flags in the chat as well. Of course, that's the subject of this protest as well. So let me know your thoughts about that. Unfortunately, sometimes things do get a bit hairy, but Youth Demand really are doing a lot at the moment. Yeah, still keeping the songs going, even after all that. Yeah, not all bikers are like that. I'll be honest, even the odd cyclist is given out to as a roadblocks and things like that. Be surprised. We'd get a lot of support as well. There is a lot of support, that has to be said. The more negative stuff obviously gets the headlines. It always does, sort of thing. It's there's more actions, so blah blah blah, but you won't have a headline where there's lines of people lining the street applauding, as has happened on occasion. So, well, that's just the bias of the media. So well done to Youth Demand, of course, continuing to call for a halt for all involvement. We don't want our tax money being spent on a genocide. So I'll try and keep you up to speed with the protests and demos. Speaking of which, I may as well do a quick little free plug now while I'm at it, people, because this is coming up in a couple of weeks. In fact, it will be 2 weeks tomorrow. Yours truly is going to be down there in that there London. Yes, another visit to London town for JSO's last shebang. So if you are in the area, please do your best to come down. Of course, you're all welcome. This is just going to be a march, and then there's going to be a big party afterwards as well. So please do come if you're around. I'm also going to be taking some footage and hopefully getting some interviews as well. So yeah, stick around for that on my left eye. But also Youth Demand continuing to demonstrate in London. So I'll keep you up to speed as much as I can with everything there, people. Free Palestine. Alright, so we're going to bring things back home, people, with a bit of UK politics now. I want to start off with something a bit more light-hearted though, before we do actually go on to see some good news as well, further good news. So after that debacle with David Mensa, let's keep our spirits high, people. I'm going to start with a little bit I put together yesterday for those of you who missed it, which might go some way to explaining Labour's drop in popularity. Just threw this together. Hope you enjoy it if you didn't see it yesterday. Perhaps something that could become a repeat feature on the channel, so let me know what you think. This is the Pat McFadden experience, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, dear thems and comrades alike. I'd love to get your feedback in the chat or in the comments.
And now on the Brews at 10, it's time for the Pat McFadden experience. Please welcome the Right Honourable Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster and soul of the party, Pat McFadden.
This week's guest is Health Secretary Wes Streeting.
Hello there everyone, and welcome to the Pat McFadden experience with me, Pat McFadden. If you like a fast-paced interview with heaps of enthusiasm, then you're in the right place. Sorry for shouting there, I got a wee bit overexcited. This week's guest is Health Secretary and MP for Ilford North, for now at least, Wes Streeting. Wes, welcome to the show. Hi Pat, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Now, there's been a bit of a stir recently with a poll that came out that shows you getting the shite kicked out of you by independent candidate Liam Mohammed. Is that something you're worried about? No, it's not something to worry about. I'm sure that when Labour deliver our plan for change, that I'll bounce back in the polls. Are you sure that the same 3 or 4 sentences that we use in every interview are going to be enough? Or could we be looking at losing our majority at the next general election? Yes, Pat, absolutely. The £22 billion black hole that Tories left us with is a perfect excuse that we'll use as a shield every time. Plus, I've done a deal with Lindsay Hoyle that every time the NHS gets mentioned in PMQs, that the camera does a little cutaway to me So I think that will do the trick. So you don't feel out of touch with the public at all? Or staff in the NHS? No, Pat, absolutely not. In fact, just the other day, I was talking to a nurse after I'd stolen her parking space outside the hospital for a photo op. She was pretty far away, but I think she said she'd voted for me twice because she was waving two fingers at me the whole time. Really nice lady. That's a great story, Wes. So, next I want to move on to your plans for... what's going on here, Pat? Oh, hi there, Angela. I was just interviewing Wesley here. You were supposed to be interviewing me. You promised me. What's all this about? No, I didn't promise you that. Yeah, you did. When we was in the bar at the House of Commons. No, you asked me and then you passed out before I could say no, and you'd had about 15 double vodka lemonades. So what? I was enjoying my weekend, alright. It was 4:10 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. I'd had a long day. You try sitting there for half an hour with Keir Starmer's ass in front of your face at PMQs and see how you like it. Sorry guys, are we still carrying on with the interview or... Shut up, Wesley. Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley.
Alright, sorry about coming back to you a bit late after the clip. So what do you think, people? You like that? Okay, there might be more episodes to come. Keep your eye out for more of the Pat McFadden experience. Did have to pay professional impersonators for that, by the way. No, we'll just have to see what we can do. Glad you like it though. Always appreciate your feedback on new content on the channel. So one thing that came up in Pat's interview with Wes there was the recent poll. Do you remember? He's going to get absolutely walloped. It looks like in Ilford North come the next GE. But even worse than another poll, an actual results here now for Labour. And this is in Haringey, if you live in London. I do actually know a lot of great activists who come from there. This is David Lammy's turf, which is particularly interesting. So this is a council by-election, should point out, not a parliamentary by-election. David Lammy is, unfortunately, still an MP. But this is a great result for the Green Party, who've gained the seat by, again, a huge margin. When you looked at the ass-kicking that it looks like Wesley Shut Up Wesley Streeting is due, then this is an equal, if not greater measure, just by the numbers, and because it's an actual result. So let's see what's happening here, people. This is quite phenomenal. In London, there's so many so-called safe seats in London for Labour. But as I've been pointing out recently, over the last couple of years, certainly in the run-up to the election, I think the concept of safe seats is on the way out. at the moment. I mean, for example, you're going to put your health secretary in a safe seat, right? And look what happened there. Sorry, Wesley. Let's get over to the screen. Take a look. This is from Stats for Lefties. Very good for accumulating polls, if you like, keeping around the polls. Again, you need to take some of them with a pinch of salt, but also handy results such as these in all sorts of areas. So 55%. That's huge. 55% of the vote share, up 14%. Labour taking an absolute tanking again. And then 4% bar after that, really. Just a couple of changes of single digit numbers. So well done to the Greens. Regular viewers will know that I always encourage people to vote for Socialist Independents or the Greens, if there isn't one. So well done to them. What do you think about this? Let me know if you're from the area. I know that we do have a few people in the capital who listen to the live streams. I think that's particularly impressive. On a national level as well, especially going through some of the comments in the recent video as well, by the way, thanks a lot for all of your comments. But I did notice quite a few people as well calling for a new left-wing party, which has been happening for a while, a national left-wing party. There are a lot of grassroots ones out there, some of them regional, some of them are national. So it isn't as though there aren't any parties out there from the established ones, if you want to put it that way. You'd have to argue that the Greens are the most socialist at the moment. That's not saying you might not agree with 100% of their manifesto or their policies, but if it's the vast majority, then that's a really good thing. But it also got me into thinking perhaps we need a new era of politics as well. For lack of a genuine left-wing party. Of course, Labour are far away from that now. It's Labour in name only. But should we perhaps see the rise of independents in terms of Parliament? Now, there are a lot of pros and cons to this. One of the pros being that members of Parliament won't feel that they've got to toe a particular party line, even though they personally disagree with the policy or whatever it is, and then they don't get tied in knots when they're having to do interviews and things like that. But I also believe, as long as the independents, of course, were genuinely left-wing or even just left-leaning, that we'd see a great improvement in people's lives. Surely, if there were enough of them in the House of Commons, they'd be able to get together and agree on elements of bills and things like this. And there are early mutterings and murmurings of this happening already. The MPs that were suspended from Labour, and also Jeremy Corbyn as well, apparently planning to form such a group made up entirely of independents, but independents who cooperate not because they're forced to do so under the banner of a party. And because of the institutionalisation, I guess, of voting for established parties, or just any party, unfortunately that's now led to people voting further to the right and trying to see, you know, even though it's a roll of the dice, you know, and other comparisons of giving them a try, that's perhaps why we're looking at a three-way hung parliament between two long-term established parties, Labour, the Tories, and now Reform Limited, or whatever. And then you have the populism that comes with that, obviously Farage being the figure, the head figure for Reform. People make that association when they go into the voting booth. They don't think that they're voting for whichever particular piece of shit Reform candidate they're idiotically putting a cross next to in the box. They think that they're voting for Farage because they actually are, because that's one thing that happens with party politics. Many pros and cons to weigh up, but just let me know what you think about that one. I won't go off on a tangent for too long. It's already just gone midnight, actually, people. Bit of a late one tonight here on the Brews at 10. Thanks for sticking around, though. It has been some week. I'll have a quick look at the comments on this, and then I'll either move on or let's see what's happening. Just some stats on, smaller left parties there. You can see the Trade Union and Socialist, that's Tusk, the Tusk coalition, 34%. The Communist League got 8 votes. Still standing. The Greens got 55.4% though, 1,059 votes. Please do the same to David Lammy. Please do. Obviously this is Tottenham, by the way. That's David Lammy's constituency. So please do the same on a national level. Let's hope that for once it projects well up the chain. There's start of the year. Well, there's actually someone here from an account called Lammy Out. Perhaps Tottenham resident themselves. Let's take a look at the bio. An archive of all the reasons why David Lammy, MP, is unfit to represent Tottenham. Maybe. So this is what locals are saying, or hoping. This may be a sign of things to come. Every Labour MP and councillor who enabled the genocide and austerity Part 2 needs to be removed from their undeserved position of power. Well done, well said. Let's do this live. Let's give Lammy Out a follow there. Why not? It's always good to get some dirt on another neolib shill careerist, lest we mock him so. Let me know if you think this will be projected into a national result. Let me just quickly... I have to satisfy my curiosity here. I'll turn the screen off just while I look this up. I want to see the actual margin. Lammy got in the last general election. Let's see how close a race it is. Or was. Well, first of all, going to that result in the council, just do a quick bit of working out here. So, Labour were on 42% previously, have gone down to 31%. The Greens were on 42%. This is in the council, by the way. So it's pretty neck and neck prior to that. I think it's a different story here on a national level. He did win by some margin, but let's see what similar swings would do. I'll bring this up in the window here. So we can see some margin there, 23,000 votes. Next nearest was the Greens, David Cragg with 7,600, considerably more than an independent in third place, Nadita Lal, and then a Tory, and then a Lib Dem. So pretty, what's the word I'm looking for, pretty big gaps between the top three there. And it'd have to be some swing. It really would have to be some swing, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. Don't know what the latest polling might be specifically for that seat. But you look at the swing. I'll just zoom in there. Focusing on first and second. You can see there that the Greens actually made gains on Lammy at the last GE. That could perhaps be encouraging. So his vote share was down 20%, so talking about safe seats, whether they're as safe as we perhaps thought that they once were, perhaps this could be included. Formally at 77%, which is huge. That's pretty much the most that you can generally win a seat by. No one ever wins by, 100, 90%, whatever, realistically. In most cases. So a good gain there of 14.7%. Just add those up. Compare them to the Tory drop. See, that does actually show that it wasn't just the collapse of the vote for the Tories which got Labour the seat. Of course, that happened in a lot of cases, didn't it? So they were down just 5.3%. They normally didn't have a chance, so that is based on a collapse in the Labour vote share as well. And the independent candidate is also a factor there. They were actually third. So they gained 5.8% as well, so that only accounts for roughly 10-11%. And then you have to account the other 10% at least for a drop in Labour popularity, probably over Gaza, I dare say. I'd risk my neck at saying. Could it be time? Could Lammy's time be up? Who knows? Yeah, still a long way to go before we find out about that one. Fingers crossed though. Maybe Ian Streeton will be having a big cry about it one day. If we're lucky. Alright, so just one final comedy clip / plug. There'll be a new episode of this coming out next week. But I do hope you'll continue to give me your suggestions for songs and artists on a new feature on the show. This is the Brews at 10, the album, which is fresh out this week. Jesus.
Do you like a hot, tasty beverage with your music? Then my left eye has got a treat for
We
your
woke
ears.
up the neighbours with that
Brews
one.
at 10,
Sorry.
The album. All your favourite beverage-based hits from the 1960s to now. All in one place. Volume 1 is now available. Featuring
Love Me Brew, The Beatles, Virtual Insanity, Jamiroquai, Knowing Tea, Knowing You, ABBA, Tears Don't Fall, Brew It for My Valentine, and The Power of Love by Brewy Lewis and the Brews. Order now.
So yes, that's the Brews at 10, the album. Not actually available anywhere, just in case I have to point that out. Sorry if that was a bit loud at the beginning, by the way. It certainly was in my headphones. Keep those suggestions flowing, as I said. Volume 2 out on Monday, probably, I think, next week, yeah. More exclusive content to come on the channel as well. There'll be at least one more members only video before the week's out. So that's a great reason, people, to consider supporting the channel with a membership. Why not treat yourself? It's the weekend. And, well, see if it goes through. Anyway, it's almost turned into a bit of a game itself now as to whether or not the thing will function. Apologies for removing the chat for a fleeting moment, just while I thank all the members. So it's just 99p. That's a fraction of the price of a hot tasty beverage. And we would have gone over 100 on tonight's live stream had the generous gifted memberships from viewers tonight gone through. Unfortunately not. I mean, come on. What's going on, YouTube? Baron von Kochschlap, thank you very much for the generosity. But again, a repeat of, yeah, we should see the names of the recipients underneath, which confirm it's gone through. You will receive a refund, by the way. They're not just running off. But thanks nonetheless. I do appreciate that. As an alternative, while that's not functioning, it's entirely up to you, of course. There's also the option of super chat and super thanks on the video. And buy me a coffee page, which you can check out in the description of the stream. If you do want to take a look. It's entirely up to you though. Of course, gifting memberships does expand the community as well as contributing to the channel. But they're all appreciated, genuinely. What a great brew crew I'm lucky to have here on my left eye. Alright people, I think that just about wraps it up. Thanks a lot for joining me. I'm going to try and do a raid into another channel, so stay in your seats. Let's see if there is anybody. It's getting a little late now, but you never know. I'll be with you on Sunday for the Sunday live stream, of course. Join me then. There's just a scheduled Navarra, unless anyone once again has any last moment suggestions. As we say our final goodbyes, if you can recommend anybody. Brews of the World by the Jam. That's a good one. Let's just make a note of that. Yeah, I decided I'm going to try and run this feature towards the end of streams. Can get a bit distracting. Well, possibly. Thank you for that one, Mithra. Brews of the World. Well, if this live stream was in print, perhaps that's what it would be called. The Jam, which might perhaps accompany a scone or a scone. Debate the pronunciation amongst yourselves, which you might have with a hot tasty beverage, of course, on your scone or your scone. Keep them coming if you're listening back on replay. Add your suggestions in the comments. Okay people, yeah, if there's no one else out there live, then we'll leave things there. Have a great weekend people. I'll be catching up with you on Sunday, like I said. Take care everyone. I've been your host Lefty, you've been wonderful. My left eye, we'll be seeing you soon. Free Palestine and power to the people. Good night.